Hey guys, welcome to a highly requested video on my channel. It's all about hair care for your reborns and the tips that I can provide. So these are some things that I've come up on my own from working with hair for such a long time now. 3.5 years that I've been reborn artist, and I definitely believe that hair work is my forte rather than painting. So here is my thoughts. The first one that I want to point out, and is the biggest one, is less is more. The more you do with your reborn, the more you brush its hair, the more you handle it in every way, the more likely you are to cause damage and lose hair over time. So my motto is to do hardly anything with the hair, because then it just stays put. So as you can see, Maggie's got a full head of hair. She's almost a year old and she hasn't lost any hair past the shedding stage, and I feel as though this is because I believe in this motto. The next thing I want to point out is that shedding is normal in new reborns, and this is because the hair that you're seeing coming out on your brushes or whatever is because they were loose hairs, or at least that's what I like to believe it is. When you're rooting in hair, there's going to be little loose hairs that try to get attached to the other ones and go in, but didn't go in far enough. So as you can see, this is Abby's little hair stash on the toothbrush, and she's all sealed, so those were just loose hairs. You can't see anything that she's gone and lost or anything like that. So definitely believe in this. This can last, I think, for about a few weeks in the very beginning. I wouldn't say that this is natural if you're losing a heap of hair each time. I've had clients come to me in the past that they've had babies from other people and said, my baby's losing chunks of hair, and generally it's in the beginning and they're thinking it's just because they're shedding, and this is quite normal. It happens with all reborns that have hair. There'll be a few loose hairs that come out here and there or didn't go all the way in, so don't freak out everyone, it's fine. The next thing I want to share with you is that what to use on hair. I predominantly use water. That is all I use on my own reborns when I'm styling their hair, and on reborns that I do for custom work and sale. They all just have water on their hair. It works a charm, and it doesn't have any chemicals or anything like that in it. I just feel like that is the safest route for their hair. I'm not saying that the ones that use the mohair conditioner or specific hairstyle conditioners are wrong, because I actually do use some. As you can see, I use this to detangle knots. So my mum has a few big babies that I use this for, and I have one baby in particular that I use this for, but not often, and I always dilute it with some water so it's not so potent. But definitely I stick to water most of the time, but I use this as a help if I have any knots in the hair. Generally I don't use knotty hair, but like I said, the big babies, they tend to need special care and they've got longer hair. Here is my little munchkin who has the most knottiest hair I've ever met in my entire life. So Roo is such a pest because I think his clothing bunches up around his head and somehow causes friction to his hair. And at the back of his head, as you can see here, he gets these little nests of hair. This is Slumberland mohair. I've never had it knot up before in my life. So generally, if I can't get it to come undone with very gentle tugging with the toothbrush, I will use the diluted spray as I'm showing you to gently pull those knots out. And quite often I have to redo this quite a lot with him. He has lost probably a very small amount of hair because of this, and that's just natural because I'm actually tugging at it. The more you pull at the hair, the more damage you're going to do at the base of the hair follicle that's attached to the head. So naturally pressure like that is going to make him lose hair, but he's very minimal hair loss. So back to Abby's head here and about the tools of the trade. So as you saw, I use the water and the conditioner if I need to, but to apply these I have several tips. First, my hands, they are the ones I use the most just to flatten hair down and keep the hair looking pretty fresh. But if that doesn't work, I then rely on my trusty toothbrush. As you see here, it has soft bristles. It's for babies' teeth, so definitely the softest out there, and it really helps with styling those really small intricate hairs. I really fully believe that everyone should have a toothbrush for their reborns, especially a soft one. not a normal one, but soft. So I use this with all my babies, both my babies and the ones that I work on, and I really believe that this is the right one to use. It took me a while to get used to using one. I used to use this brush all the time, but I only use this on the big babies now because it doesn't give me the right coverage to get the style in there that I want, and that's where the toothbrush really comes in handy. This is a baby brush, as you can see, and the other thing I use is a comb. So here you can see me showing the comb that I use, and again I only use it on big babies. So to use the tools that I do, I always use either a spritz spray or bottle or just a cup and dip the toothbrush in. I actually prefer the second method, but here you can see me doing the first just because I didn't have a cup around. And yeah, I always start at the crown, and always put your thumb on the crown so you can style those hairs around your finger. It's really helpful to be able to do it that way, and then I just follow the head around. As you can see, I'm having to keep spraying that, so sometimes you can actually overspray, so it's best not to do that when the baby is actually assembled. It's always better to have the cup and just dip your toothbrush in and then wipe it onto the head so it's all nice and wet in that area. You don't want to get it over wet, because if it goes into the cloth body then you might have a bit of a problem with mold later on in life, but generally it's not too much of an issue. And I always use the spritz spray bottle when I'm using it on a head that's not attached to a body. As you can see, it does a really good trick, and it really helps to have just that water around when I'm doing my Reborn work at my desk. So yeah, this is me styling Abby's hair and getting all those little loose hairs in the front, the little tiny ones, into a nice neat place, and I let that air dry. So the next thing that I really want to point out to you guys is try not to put your clothes over the head of the baby. It puts pressure on the hair, especially if the clothing is tighter. So always take it down the body. This is designed naturally for real babies, so their clothes have the little snips or the buttons or the little loopy necks, because the clothing's meant to come down in case they have spit up. You don't want to put that through their hair or over their faces. So this is really handy for us Reborn mamas and daddies, because we don't need to ruin our hair. We can finally put their clothes up without even touching their hair. As you can see, Sue's hair is looking fine because I didn't even go over her head with any tight clothing, and it's all good. We're not damaging any follicles. So the next thing I want to point out is be mindful with hair accessories and hats. Don't use things that are too tight on their heads, because that will cause friction when you're pulling it on and off. So the best thing to do is be really mindful about what you're putting on, making sure that it's not too tight on their heads with their hair bows, because you don't want to be slipping them down and then losing hair when you're pulling it off. So as you can see, Sue's got this little cute thing on, and all her hair came forward like that in the video. So you don't want that to happen. You want to be using things that are not going to cause too much damage to those front tiny hairlines especially. So the other thing that I want to point out is hats, especially woolen hats. Wool just is naturally got friction in it, and it's going to cause trouble for your baby's hair if you leave it on for too long. I know it looks cute when the static is in there, when you're pulling the hair up, pulling the hat off and the hair's all sticking up, but honestly, don't leave your woolen hats on for too long, and always use a bigger hat, because the tighter it is, the harder it is. The next thing I want to point out is a longer hair care. So Perry is helping me out here. I made the mistake of making Perry's hair in the middle zone. So I call the middle zone the area of trouble, because her hair is not short enough to be like a newborn style and out of the way, but her hair is not long enough to be tied up and naturally be out of the way either. So she's kind of in that area where her hair falls naturally around her neck and where her clothes sit, and I feel like I still don't have the hang of this properly, but tying her hair up is the best way to keep it from being damaged. And I feel like these longer haired babies definitely need more care, because if it gets caught in their clothing it can rip hair out, and I've done that with Perry and it made me cry. But yeah, so you've definitely got to be careful with these little ones. Also, if you're styling them, please try and find things that aren't going to rip their hair out. I try really hard with these elastics not to rip any of Perry's hair out when I undo them or when I'm doing it up. But if anyone's got any tips for me, because I'm still new to the longer hair, please leave them below, because Perry would love me to not rip out her hair. And I'm always really scared about touching her hair, so I feel like the biggest thing for longer hair is it should be named Longer Hair Needs Special Care. Please let me know if you've got any extra tips to do with this, because I would love to revisit this with her in a later date. So yeah, definitely longer hair needs special care. And finally, we're now at the end of this video, so thank you so much for following along. We've got Bailey here to share what I call the ideal routine, and that is what you need to be thinking about with your reborn. Now that you've had all these tips and advice given to you, it's nice to make up an ideal plan for what you're going to do with your reborns. This is not going to be the same for each person. We all have different needs. We all use our reborns in different ways, but I thought that I would share my routine with you all and see if it helps you. Leave a comment below if you have a different routine and it works for you. I'd really like to know. But for me, I do hardly anything with my reborns hair. So generally, I try to use my hands as much as I can, not get any tools in there, not use water all the time on their hair. I generally let it sit there for a while. His hair is wet hair, by the way, so it's not left like that. But yeah, so if I want to style their hair for a video or something like that, I'll definitely do it. But generally, I only style my baby's hair maybe once a month with water, and that is generally when I do their monthly cleanup. So I'm going to be doing a video on that if you guys would like to see, where I tidy them up, where I do more than just hair work, and that's generally done at the end of the month. But yeah, so that's what I do. I barely touch their hair unless it's the end of the month. The girls generally have their hair up in either pigtails for Peri, or they have hair bows on, so their hair is pretty flat all the time. It doesn't get much attention. The boys' hair is generally fussy and like all over the place, and I kind of like that look, especially on Nico, but I just feel as though unless I'm doing a specific photo shoot, I don't really do much with their hair. I always make sure their clothes come off downwards on their bodies. I try not to use tight accessories or leave woolen hats on for too long. They're generally on for photo shoot purposes and then they're taken off. So yeah, just being really mindful about that hair, because like I said at the beginning of this video, the hair can't grow back like ours. We can brush our hair and it will grow back, but unfortunately with reborns we can't have that same miracle unless you are someone like me who makes your own reborns and you can put their hair back in. But thankfully I've never had to do that to my own reborns, except for one that I sold many years ago. So yeah, I'm really happy that I was able to share this with you all, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Bye everyone!